Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us with Buffalo for our third virtual connect. And we have Debbie Peterson tonight, who's going to talk about from calm to chaos in your career. I'm Jessie Mancuso. I'm one of the WIT Buffalo founders and leads. And we are so excited to be able to offer this free event to our WIT members and our non-WIT members. Like we said, we invited everyone we ever met because we were so excited to have Debbie tonight. But we could only do that because of Jabra. So thank you, Jabra, for sponsoring us tonight. We appreciate that. And if you aren't already a WIT member, we invite you to join for just $97, and anyone on the entire planet can join. The only requirement is that you encourage all women and girls to study STEM and pursue technology careers, enable more women to attain leadership positions and career advancement, and support more female and entrepreneurs to start and develop profitable businesses. WIT Buffalo does a lot of really cool stuff for $97. We have monthly webinars through the WIT network, blogs, global mentoring circles, local community events. So we have WIT Buffalo. There are chapters all across the world, which is very exciting. And if you don't have your own chapter, you can be like me, Kelly, and Kate, and just start your own. But they also have some virtual chapters. So anyone has access to it. We actually had the opportunity to go to the International Women's Day event with WIT Buffalo, or with WIT, back in March in Toronto, which feels like about 1,000,000 years ago. But it was only 3 months ago, and so much has happened since then. I can't even believe it. It really feels like a lifetime ago. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknown, and that's why we are so excited to have Debbie with us tonight. So I'd like to tell you more about Debbie. Whoops, somebody from work. Apparently I should have turned off my Teams. Debbie of Getting to Clarity helps you to get clear on the roadmap to advancing in your career and provides you the tools to get there. Professionally, she's a keynote speaker, certified virtual presenter, and career mentor who guides professionals to expand how they think about themselves, their career direction, and their influence in achieving it, all without losing who they are in the process, which is amazing. Debbie has been featured in Forbes magazine, is also a regular newspaper career strategy contributor, and is the author of Clarity, How Smart Professionals Create Career Success on Their Terms. Debbie created the Way Forward in Your Career Mastery program to give mid-career professionals a way to shed confusion and get clarity on their next level or next chapter in their career. On a personal note, Debbie is a summer child and boycotts winter each year to chase sunshine from Pennsylvania to Florida with her husband, Tom, which we all understand of the folks from Buffalo and Toronto. Get ready, because Debbie is going to share her tips, her tools, her techniques that have helped thousands to get clarity by harnessing the power of their own minds to create amazing career results. And we all need you right now, Debbie. So welcome.
It is so my pleasure to be here. And yeah, I'd imagine you'd get the whole summer child chasing sunshine, because some people, they don't get it, and I have to explain to them where I come from. I measure snow in feet, not inches, and they're kind of like, oh. But it's, you know, it's my pleasure to come and just share whatever I can tonight, because wow, we're really in a different place than we were at the beginning of the year. And I know that there are probably only a handful of people in the world who might have even seen something like this coming. So coping, you know, having strategies that take you from kind of that chaos that you can find your mind getting into, and getting to a place where you are more calm. And what I want you to know is that it is within reach. And the very first step is making a choice. And so by being here tonight, spending your time on this fabulous summer evening, you've made a choice. And so good for you. You've turned that corner. So I want you to imagine that even with everything going on, that you can get yourself to a place where you are calm, that you can get yourself to a place where you can think and you can make decisions, that you aren't reacting to something, you're taking action intentionally. You know, think about some of the people who push your buttons, some of the people who just step on your last nerve, who get under your skin, right? And imagine that they don't anymore, and having that sort of control and influence. And so, you know, the strategies that I'm going to share, you know, that is a piece of, you know, what it is that you can achieve by adopting them. So today I promise to share what I use daily. It's not a one and done, but the strategies that I use to, that got myself and my life to a different place. So what you're going to discover here with this is we're going to talk about strategies to help you deal with negative emotions. And when I say negative emotions, I mean anger, sadness, fear, guilt, limiting beliefs and limiting decisions, self-doubt, and definitely stress and anxiety. And beyond that, I am going to share the one tool that I use when it comes to enforcing my boundaries. And in addition to that, to kind of leave you in the right space, we're going to talk about a focus tool, because a lot of times when we find ourselves getting stressed and overwhelmed, it's because we are focused on everything. And that isn't always the best strategy. So the problem, though, is that right now everything's blurred, right? How many of you, and I'd be curious, put in the chat if you are working from home, yes or no. Just give me a yes or a no in the chat. Okay. All right. Looks like just about everybody is working from home. So you get this, that everything has blurred, you know, just blurred together. I mean, highly technical term, everything is just smushed together. You know, family experiences are at home, where they may have been in the past, but school, if you've got children, is at home. Social interaction with people that you normally would have gone out to a restaurant or a bar or a club or a picnic or some sort of social are at home. Your kids' activities, trying to keep them occupied, are at home. You know, cooking at home, FaceTime, Zoom at home. I mean, everything has just congealed into this one area, and it's not what we're used to. It's not natural for us. So, and even if you're not home, if there is anybody, although what I looked on the chat, there wasn't, all of your activities, everything that you've known has been disrupted. So, you know, it is no wonder that things have been thrown off this far, and that there is some anxiety and overwhelm and stress and other things that are popping up. What the problem can be, though, is that if we don't do something about them, they can start impacting us physically. And that's what I don't want to have happen. You know, but the dream is that even with the new normal, we somehow find our way, that we have routines, that we have safety and security in what we do and what we know to be true, that we have less stress, that we are being less emotional. So to be more of your old self without maybe picking up some of the habits that you didn't want to bring with you into this new self, you know, that would be the dream, but we're still finding our way there. And because the reality is we don't know what we don't know. You know, the world is different, but we don't know yet how different. We don't know how long it'll last. We don't know what's on the other side of it. But we're also having to show up in a different way. And we want the best for people that we know and we take care of. But is it, or should it be, at the expense of ourselves? So, you know, we thought we were juggling before, and we are really juggling now. So what can you do? Well, there's plenty. And what I'm going to share is the best of the best that I know to be true in handling definitely this uncertainty. So the solution is that you really get clarity on what it is that you can control, because it's not everything, what it is that you can influence, And again, it's not everything. And then what it is that you need to let go of. So tonight, with the time that we have together, here are the topics that we're going to discuss and provide strategies on. So we're going to talk about boundaries, especially when it comes to working from home. I'm going to give you some tools to help you get clarity and focus, so you're being more productive, not focusing on everything, focusing on the right things. We're going to talk a bit about self-care, because as type A, driven, achieving sort of women, sometimes, self-care happens by chance instead of by choice. But that can be a flawed strategy, and I'm going to dive into that a little bit. And then at the end, we're going to talk about an overview of negative emotions, so you really understand what they are, and know that they're natural, and know that they can be beneficial, but it depends on how you handle them. And then I'll give you strategies to deal with them. So does that sound good? Is that what you signed up for? Is that what you're here for? Give me a yes or a no in the chat, just so I know we are on the right page. All right, beautiful. So who am I and why listen to me? Okay, here's the deal. 2003, there wasn't a pandemic, there wasn't, anything huge nationally, globally going on, but that was the year that I hit the wall. And I was in my corporate career. I was not satisfied. I was feeling very stuck. I was feeling very frustrated. But what happened was that I figured there was something wrong with me, because I had a good job. I had a good paycheck. I mean, people envied me, the job that I had. So what was wrong with me that I just didn't feel fulfilled? But the other problem was I couldn't figure out what fulfilled meant. I figured that, well, it just must be this way. And other people can be happy, but other people have to be unhappy. And it started me on this process of trying to be absolutely perfect in every area of my life, which from a stress standpoint just took me off the charts. Trying to be the perfect size and to be able to have the perfect house where everything's all taken care of and picked up, and heaven forbid anybody comes in and figures out that I haven't folded the laundry in 3 weeks, or that I want to grind my son's Xbox under the tires of my car. Bad mom, right? But it just, the more I tried to seek perfection, because I thought that was the answer to my frustration, like the more I failed. I turned into someone, I didn't recognize myself anymore. To describe it so that you might understand, it was like all the things that I enjoyed, I didn't enjoy anymore, because it was like I was living in a jar, a glass jar with a lid, and it allowed me to see outside of the jar, but I couldn't get to it. I couldn't access it. And so there was just this profound sense of disconnection. And what ultimately ended up happening is that I got to the place where I was having heart palpitations, and I was having numbness in my left hand. I couldn't get a full breath because my chest was just that constricted. I wasn't sleeping, and my emotions were just trash. And so I knew I had to go to the doctor. I knew something was wrong. And my husband, God love my husband, he tried to support me, and he'd say that if something's wrong, I would tell you. I would be the first one to tell you that something's wrong. So, don't worry about it. And I looked at him and I said, babe, I love you, but I am not me, and I need to figure this out. And so after a battery of tests, by the age of 40, I am now officially on high blood pressure medicine. I'm on anti-anxiety medicine, and I'm on migraine medicine for these killer headaches. And, I just have this vision of my life being those little pill containers with the morning and the noon and the night, you know what I mean? And I thought, this is not the way I want my life to go, but I couldn't figure it out. Fast forward about 2 years later, I went to a training. And when I walked into the training, I had a really arms crossed sort of attitude. Like, what? I don't get what I'm going to learn here. And what I ended up learning and really being open to in a matter of hours was I was the one who was the most in my own way. And I was the one who was going to be able to find my way out of it. What I learned is that, you know, I have so much more influence over my life, over my career, over what I experienced than I ever thought I did. And that really brought me hope. And a lot of the strategies that I share with you tonight are what I used to do the work to get to the other side. And they are what I use to keep my life on track. And that's not to say that you don't have bad days. And that's not to say that bad things don't happen. I mean, just look what's going on in the world right now. And we're all feeling perhaps a bit heavy or emotional. But this is my process to just help keep work back to an even keel, because just because you get there doesn't mean that you stay there. So you always need some tools in your toolbox. And the biggest epiphany that I had when I went to that training and after I got to the other side was not that I did it, but it was that I did it. And if I did it, then other people could do it too. And that moment was the impetus for me to leave corporate, start my business, and figure out what this looked like to pay it forward, because we all have that sort of influence. So when I speak, when I train, when I coach, it's all from a mindset perspective, because the three things I want to have happen for you is, one, I want you to think differently about yourself. Two, I want you to think differently about your potential and what it is that you have the ability to achieve. And three, I want you to think differently about your influence over achieving it. So, you know, it was a time where I really had to shift how I looked at things. And you may be looking at how a shift as how you look at things. So just take into consideration The Office. I think The Office probably looks a little bit different than it did unless you've always worked from home. But if you have children and school-age children, it still does look different because there's more players in the room than there was before. You know, and I would be curious if you would put it in the chat. What are some of the biggest obstacles that you encounter in your home environment? So what are some of the biggest snags that you run into being at home? And that's how your house looks. I get it. Okay, having to teach your kid and work. Your husband talking, Christine, I got a story for you. Unexpected interruptions, working more hours, having a teenager. Okay, enough said there. That should be a hashtag, right? Family wanting attention. Yeah, distractions, 3 kids at home, staying organized and prioritizing, disruptions or interruptions, not being able to separate. Yeah, I mean, it used to be if you worked outside of the home, you walk out the door and you go to work. You come back, maybe you bring some of it with you, but not all of it with you. Wearing sweatpants, working more hours, continually working, not being able to separate space to work. Okay, a toddler who can't communicate quite yet while working. Building relationships with colleagues as a new hire. Okay, yeah, and Sarah, you know, and you're having to do that virtually. And when you do that virtually, you lose, you know, some of that face-to-face pieces of the communication, that nonverbal communication. It's harder to pick up on. Okay, feel bad, but total introvert and love being home. Kate, I'm with you. You know, even though I speak, I go on stages, I speak to, you know, hundreds of people. When I'm done, I need to go home and crawl into a book. I need to be by myself because I am definitely more introverted than extroverted. Family wanting me to have attention, having to work longer hours, separating work from home. Okay, still 21, still in college, having to switch back and forth between parents' houses. Okay, divorce is huge. So something else on top of all of this, losing your independence. Yeah, Claire, I get you. That's tough. The look of my neck on Zoom. I know. Somebody said there was something that you could enhance your camera with. I still haven't found it yet, but I think it's only for Apple products. So no privacy. Okay, so high functioning introvert, you're all good. So it, you know, I mean, it pretty much runs the gamut. And there's a handful of you who are like, okay, I'm an introvert. I'm really good with this. But for the rest of you, and for those of you who find yourself more on the extroverted side, even if you have some introverted tendencies, there's just different stuff that you're dealing with. So here are some tips to handle being in the office. Now, for those of you who have young children, the first tip for you is space and grace. Give yourself the space and the grace to deal with this. They can't communicate. They're not good at communicating. They don't understand what it means to wait. They want their mom. Mom is there. Why can't I have mom if mom is there? And they don't get it. And so doing the best that you can and forgiving yourself for the times that it just goes sideways. Because people need to understand that we're working in a different environment. And it may include you having to educate them, but you really need to give yourself the space and the grace. So generally, tips from working from home is that the people that you work with, I encourage you to educate them. And we've been doing this for a while, but there still may be conversations that need to be had. Educating them when you've got a call, educating them that, you know, when mom walks into the dining room and sits down at this end of the table, that she's working. So it would be as if she wasn't in the house. It is, you know, trying to give things to them and educating them on how that will help you. So if you have children and there are things that you can do while you're working, if they understand that this helps mom while she's working, you know, maybe it's folding the clothes, even though they really don't look like folded clothes, but you know, they got to contribute, can be something that helps. One of the things is that, another tip is that you're going to have to let go of some stuff. So if you can delegate it, by all means, delegate it. Give it to someone, even if it doesn't turn out the way that you want, if they've made an honest effort at it, but explain to them how it helps you, educate them around that, but delegate whatever you can. I say delegate it, ditch it, or do it. The ditch it is, does it really need to be done? Is it really something that has to be done right now in this moment? Is it really something that has to be done at all? I mean, look at all of the things that people said that weren't able to be done that are now being done in a different way, in a way that they said wouldn't work. But technology has allowed that. So, you know, asking if what is on your mind, is it something that really needs to be done right now? And if it's something small, then just do it. Do it, get it off your plate, get it off your mind, but you just don't want to fill up your day doing things like that. And one of the biggest things that I learned about my husband is, and it was funny, I can't remember who said it, and I said, I've got a story for you on that. When I left corporate was when my husband retired his job. Now, my husband was the type A driver, worked, you know, 7 to past 7, 7 days a week, on vacations, the whole bit. And when he retired, I thought, wow, I really don't know if he's going to get this or not, but he did. Okay. He's done really good in retirement. But here's what happened is that every time a thought popped into his head, he would come trotting down the hallway into my office while I was working and just would proceed to tell me what was on his mind, and then he would leave. And then he would come down again, maybe 10 minutes later or 20 minutes later or an hour later. It was like every single time. Finally, I didn't want to hurt his feelings, but I had to have a conversation. And this was a boundary. And I had to say that, you know, I'm doing writing and I'm on calls and, you know, we need to have a system. So what we worked out is that in the morning we have a debrief. Maybe it happens the night before, but he understands what my next day looks like. And one of the cues is when the door is closed, he knows that there's something going on and he shouldn't come in. Because, you know, otherwise I'm writing and he would come and he would sit and he would just stare at me until I acknowledged him. And I said, we can't do this anymore, because it was starting to irritate me. And I didn't want to have that in my marriage. So I had to have a conversation. But here's what else I learned about him. People, when it comes to processing information and knowing what to do, some people are inferential and other people are literal. And here's what that means. Inferential are people who can infer that something needs to be done. They could look at somebody and say, wow, you look like you're thirsty. Here's a glass of water. The literal people need to be told, can I have a glass of water? They don't know to do anything until they're asked. My husband is literal. He can load the dishwasher, start the dishwasher, run the dishwasher, and not know to unload it unless I ask him. If I ask him, he's happy to do it. But even though I can walk through the house and it can be painfully obvious that something needs to be done, he doesn't see the same thing. But if I ask him, he's happy to help. So figuring out if the people that you're surrounded with in your home, could they be inferential or are they literal? Do they need to be asked? Are they visual? You know, they may not see what you see, but if you ask them, if they heard the ask because they're auditory, it might work differently. So that can be a tip, but mostly it's ask. You know, if you want something done, don't hope that they'll notice. That's just frustrating. Just ask them if that's something that they can do. When it comes to, you going into your office, some of the tips that I give my clients who are now working home is to set it up as close to what they had in the office, or better. If there's some changes that you want to make, if there are, you know, things that make you happy, things that you like to see, things that you enjoy. That might be a candle, it might be some artwork, it might be a chair, a reading chair or something like that. But really creating a space for yourself that resonates with you. So whatever you can do, knowing that this is hopefully a temporary situation, or permanent if that's what you want, right? And it cracks me up because there were a lot of people who thought, wow, if only I could work from home. And then they found out, well, I guess it wasn't working from home. I was really looking to do. But whatever you can do to make the environment conducive to you is something that you can do. But sticking to work hours. You know, as high achieving, driven sort of women, you understand what it means when it comes to addressing things and using as much time or the compressed time around an event. I had a call with a president of a wealth management firm, and we were talking about high performing women, and especially in the financial services industry, and also, you know, what goes on in women in technology, the technology industry, that there's a gap and what causes some of the gap. And one of the comments he made to me is that, you know, he is actively looking for ways to not only get more women in the organization, but be able to move them to partner. So that's his goal. So they're almost at 50-50 from an intake standpoint, but when it comes to making partner, they're still at 90-10. And so he wants to remedy that. But one of the things that he said is, you know, even women going on maternity leave, he goes, I don't know what it is about women on maternity leave. He says, but they can run circles around people who are in the office and haven't left because they're forced. Oh, I hit my, I hit my watch and it pinged my phone, which is sitting right here. Sorry. But they're forced to get more done in less time. So they're very efficient and effective. So for you, having office hours and sticking to them, knowing that whatever comes after, I mean, if it's an emergency and you need to address it, okay. But if it's not, can it wait till the next day? So really enforcing those boundaries with yourself to say, okay, at 5 o'clock, I'm checking out. At 6 o'clock, I'm checking out, you know, whatever parameters you put around it, but really enforcing those boundaries because you will get it done. It will be there. You will get it done, but you've got to take, especially being in the home, take that time to unplug, walk away. Otherwise you're always on, and that becomes very stressful. So with one of the tools that I want to share with you, it is called the Way Forward to More Time. And what I have found is that, you know, we can't make more time, obviously, but we can do different things with the time that we have. And this has been one of the strategies that's been a real game changer for me. So I wanted to make sure that I shared this with you tonight, because it helps you to prioritize and it helps you to focus. It gives you clarity and focus, and to really make some decisions about what it is that you're doing. So this sheet is from the Mastery Program, and I can send it to you. That's no problem, but you can duplicate it even on a tablet. And here is how it works. Here's the strategy behind this. Step one in this particular system is that you just do a brain dump. So you just dump everything out of your head that is on your mind, whether it's personal or professional, whatever you have to do, you know, whatever's coming up, get it all out of your head. Because here's what happens is that we try to hold all of this information in our head, and it's a recipe for stress. You know, we can't remember everything. And so our mind is just constantly working, trying to remember so we don't forget. Give me a yes or a no if this is something that you identify with. You know, are there things that wake you up in the middle of the night, you know, that you're trying to, or even keeping the tablet next to the bed? Yeah, absolutely. And we do this to ourselves, you know, because we don't want to forget anything. We're juggling and we don't want a ball to drop. So once a week, I do this. I either do it on Sunday or I do it on Monday morning, depending. And I just do a brain dump. Everything that's coming up, it doesn't matter how far out, I just get everything out of my head. So grab a cup of coffee, grab a glass of wine if it's later in the day, whatever floats your boat, and just do a brain dump. Get it all out on a list, and then mark whether it's personal, professional. So I have P for personal and C for career. So Susan, maybe you keep this list handy, and it's a running list for you, right? Using it at one particular time. So step one is to do a brain dump. Step two is you mark whether it's personal or career related. The next step is anything that has a hard due date on it. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be a report you have to present. It could be a trip you have to take. Well, of course, that's not happening anymore. It could be the card you need to buy for your mother. Whatever the case may be, if it's personal or professional and it's got a due date on it, put the due date on it and then schedule it in your calendar. No matter how big or small, whether personal or professional, put a date on it and then put it in your calendar so it's scheduled. To your mind, that's handled. All right. Okay, so Kate says, I struggle with the balance between setting a hard end date and having something come in after hours that can be done so quickly that it's easier to do it than to think about having to do it the next day. And that's a habit. It's a habit that you've gotten yourself into. If it works for you, fine. If it doesn't, then maybe this list, and you just jot it on the list and know that you're going to take care of it. You've made a commitment to yourself that I'm going to be done at this time, and you're going to honor and respect yourself enough to stick to that. So if it's got a due date, you schedule it. The third step is that if it doesn't have a due date, this is, you know, kind of these loose things that they need to be done, but they don't really have a time when they need to be done. But some of these things can still kind of crop up and become an emergency. So what you do with those is that you're going to put them into 3 buckets. There is an A bucket, a B bucket, and a C bucket. And here's the criteria for each. The A bucket are the things that are key, they're integral, they're going to, they are urgent for your family, they're urgent for your job, they move you closer to the vision of optimally what you want to have, either personally or professionally. If they are just that important, they go in the A bucket. The B bucket are the things that are important, they're just not as important as the A bucket. And the C bucket are the things that, you know, I just don't want to forget about it. I need to put a pin in it so I don't lose track of it, okay? But here's the deal. You know, high-performing women, achievers, you're going to want to put everything in the A bucket because it needs to be done, right? That is a recipe for stress. So when you do this, you have to divide everything between the 3 buckets. Everything has to have an equal amount. So if you had 12 soft items that you were prioritizing, then 4 would go in each bucket. And you have to pick which ones are going to be the biggest priority and which ones are going to be slightly behind that and which ones you're going to kind of put a pin in for the moment. But the idea is that you are not focusing on everything at once. You're just focusing on one segment of it. So every morning when you get up, you focus on something off of that A list. Now, it can be something really little, or it can be a project. It depends on how much time you have going. If you got Zoom call after Zoom call after Zoom call, like I had today, then it might be firing off a quick email. It might be capturing a website to go back to later. It might be a quick text, all right? But it is something geared towards the A items on your list, and preferably the A1 item, because once you get it in a bucket, you're going to prioritize this. Good, Susan. I'm glad you love this. It's a game changer. When you have some time in your day and you can't get to something in the A list, then you can move to the B and see if there's something you can easily take care of, or even the C. But you're always focused on what is the biggest priority for you. As you do this weekly, priorities will change. You'll have a chance to calibrate, but instead of focusing on everything, you're focusing on what you are saying is the most important to you personally and professionally. And this keeps you from getting in the, oh my God, I need to do everything, overwhelm. So do you think this would be helpful for you? Give me a yes or a no in the chat. Does anybody do something similar to this? Okay, good. I need this. All right. And this goes with anything. If you're talking about tasks that you have for a project, they can go through the same exercise. If you're talking about even a project at home, it can go through the same exercise. So this is just a way to take everything and to do something intentional with it that fits with you. So it is very effective. Yeah. So, and I can send you that if that is something that would work for you. My pleasure, Tammy. Okay. So actually, looking at specific things instead of everything can be a form of self-care. But my question to you, if I asked you, and be honest, self-care, is it by choice for you, or do you leave it to chance? Give me a choice or a chance in the chat. What side of the fence do you fall on? Okay, I see a little bit of both. And I think we kind of slide back and forth depending on what's going on. Yeah. Okay. So Melanie, you know what it used to be like, right? Okay. So for those of you who, yes, it does depend on the season of life. For those of you who said by choice, what are your self-care go-tos? What do you choose to do for self-care? And put that in the chat so that other people can get an idea, because it doesn't have to be as comprehensive as you think it is. So video workout, exercise, meditation, yoga, massage, neighborhood walks, massage, exercise, yoga, nails. Oh my gosh, I'm dying to get my nails done again. Meditation, read, mani-pedi, podcast. Yeah. So there's lots of things that you can do, but it doesn't even involve going somewhere and spending money. I mean, it can be as easy as, hey, I'm saying I'm done at 6 o'clock. That is self-care. I'm saying that, you know, I really want to sit down and be present with my family for dinner and have a conversation with my kids. That's self-care. Taking a walk, listening to music, lighting your favorite candle, anything that you intentionally do for you is self-care. And even being mindful. So I have a show, I guess you could call it a podcast of sorts. I do it in video format for my mastery program, The Way Forward in Career. And I interview experts on different facets that would impact a woman or emerging leader's career. and things that they can do to help them get to the next level, the next chapter, which, by the way, is having a life and a career that complement each other instead of compete. So it's the full spectrum. So I had a gal on, and she said even the process of being mindful throughout the day, and this can be as easy as when you go walk in the kitchen, or even after you've used the bathroom and you wash your hands, turning on the faucet and feeling the water on your hand, like running over your hand, feeling the temperature of the water, how the soap feels in your hand, what it is that you see, what it is that you hear while you're doing that. So you're pulling all your senses in and just being very mindful on that one particular task. That can be self-care. Going outside, and as you walk, noticing what you notice. And this is a challenge for me that I continue to work on, because I get walking and my mind starts going. And I've got my phone out and I'm dictating all the stuff that I need to remember or have to do. And, but when I get mindful, looking at a bird, identifying the bird, smelling the fresh grass, feeling the sun, and I bring my senses into it, it gives it a different sort of energetic vibe. I'm much more present, which can help with when you start to feel overwhelmed or you start to feel anxious or stressed. So those can be things that you use for self-care. But the most important piece of self-care is to know that you're going to give it to yourself, to respect you enough that you're going to say that I'm worth it and that I deserve it. Because the thing is, we teach people how to treat us. So we will, by what we do or by what we don't do, we tell people what is an appropriate way to treat us. And that includes ourselves. So, you know, we listen in as much as anybody else does. So doing that for yourself and making it by choice, scheduling it in that exercise that I gave you before, making sure that that's a priority. So that you've got yourself, if not on the front burner, at least not totally off the stove. Okay? Another form of self-care is what we're going to get into now. And this is a little bit of a segment, and I wanted to save it for last because I do want to do a meditation at the end. So I want to talk a bit about negative emotions, why you do need them, and when you should get rid of them. So this is going to be a little course for you to take with you on negative emotions. So I would ask you, and you can give me a yes or a no. Have you ever been angry with someone and now you're just not? Maybe you remember being angry at them, but you just don't feel it anymore. Has that happened? Yeah. And maybe you have been sad. You know, maybe you lost someone or you lost a pet or something happened, a relationship severed, and you were sad. But now you remember being sad, but you don't feel sad anymore. And even, you know, irritated, you know, things and people who used to drive you nuts, and now it's just kind of like, okay, whatever, right? So we go through this, yeah, Christina, we go through this naturally, where emotions come up, and then at some point they're just not relevant anymore. And ideally, that is how it's supposed to happen. You are meant to experience negative emotions. Your negative emotions, like anger, sadness, fear, guilt, limiting beliefs, limiting decisions, even self-doubt, and stress and anxiety are all things that you're meant to feel. You know, the term negative doesn't necessarily mean bad. There's a caveat to that though, and I'll get to that in a moment. What you need to know about negative emotions is that they are useful to a point. So what happens is that our unconscious mind runs the body. It stores our emotions. It stores our memories. And its job is to not only run the body, but to keep us safe. It is a guide to help us transcend to where we need to go, according to what it is that we want. So when you feel a negative emotion. Somebody does something, they step on your last nerve, they just get under your skin, they irritate the living daylights out of you. You're meant to feel that. And you're meant to feel that because you're meant to do something as a result. So for instance, maybe you had someone in a meeting who spoke over you or who hijacked your idea and took it as their own. And it really made you upset. And you feel that upset. You feel that irritation because you're meant to take different action. Your unconscious knows that, woohoo, wait a minute, what just happened isn't cool for you. And I'm just here to let you know that's not cool for you. And you need to do something different. So I'm just here letting you know that that wasn't part of the plan. We need to get back on track. And what is supposed to happen is we learn something from it. Okay, we learn something from it and we take a different action. So the emotion has done its job. It brought it into our awareness. We learn something from it. We incorporate that learning. We do something different as a result. But what happens is that we tend to hold on to negative emotions. And the longer that we hold on to them, the more comforting they can be. It's just easier being angry at somebody than perhaps to go through the process of forgiving them. You know, that the sadness has been around for so long, you don't know how to feel another way. And it's just too exhausting to think about getting to a different place. And so you just stay in the sadness. But the problem is that negative emotions are meant to be released. They're not meant to be held onto. And the longer you hold on to them, the more they weigh you down. So what happens is that, you know, we have some sort of an event, something that happens, and we feel a negative emotion. And it's small, okay? It's just a little bit, but we don't do anything about it. But it kind of plants a seed in our brain, and that's what we start looking for. And it's almost like you reap what you sow. When you decide to hold on to a negative emotion, you attract other circumstances that bring you that same emotion. So it becomes heavier. You know, where at first we were irritated, at some point when we don't deal with it, we end up stuck because it is too heavy to do something else. So emotions are meant to be released. Negative emotions will continue. You will go through a cycle until you get what it is that you're supposed to learn. For me, I have been hit with a cosmic 2x4 a couple of times, really good. Like it would have been a lot easier if I would have gotten the memo much earlier on, but I didn't. And for some reason, I needed to go in that direction until I couldn't, till I literally hit the wall. So you will continue a pattern until you get what you need to get out of it in order to get to the next level. So it's like gaming, you know, you've got to surpass, you know, the threshold, the obstacle, you know, so you can get to the next level. It's the same thing. So you're meant to release them. So negative emotions also keep you stuck, and they keep you from being who you are meant to be. And I will say that out of all of the benefits that have happened with the work that I have done, that besides getting off on the medication and the health symptoms going away and things like that, is that as I do the work, I become more of who I'm meant to be. As I step out of my comfort zone and I do the hard work, I become more of who I'm meant to be. And there's just nothing else like that in the world. But, you know, the thing is that you already know how to do this. And just by going through, you know, you've been mad at someone and now you remember being mad with them, but, you know, I'm not irritated with them anymore. You just remember feeling that way. But the most important thing is it happens in an instant. It's not, you know, you may get ready to release, but once you release, it's like that. So let's get into the different negative emotions. Anger is the biggest emotion. All right. So it always goes first. When you release negative emotions, you always release anger first. So it is anger, irritation, pissed off, ticked off, whatever word works for you, or words that equate to that feeling of anger. However you describe it is just perfect for you. Sadness. Sadness comes second, because usually once Have you ever been so mad about something or maybe at someone? And then when you got over the anger, you were just profoundly sad. You know, maybe it was a relationship that severed and, you know, you were so mad in the beginning, but then after the anger went away, you were just sad. And usually sad is, you know, sadness is laying underneath there, but anger can cover it up. So sadness being blue, melancholy, feeling off, however you describe it is just perfect for you. Fear, being afraid of something, having genuine fear, being, you know, spooked, being wigged out, being afraid, however you term it, having guilt. And I hear this a lot now. There are so many people who have been furloughed and have been, that are unemployed now. And I talk to clients and they feel guilty because they have a job, even if it's not a good job. You know, they're wrestling with what they have. Many white people that I know feeling guilt over now discovering that they themselves have white privilege and, you know, over discovering what has been happening that they may or may not have been aware of. Hurt, feeling hurt, someone has hurt you, is an emotion that can be released. Shame, feeling shame or regret over something. Limiting beliefs and limiting decisions. And this is interesting because out of all of the negative emotions that I have listed to this point, they are all part-time. They don't happen full-time. You know, you're angry in the moment you get over it. Maybe you forget about it for a couple of days and you get angry again, but it's not running full-time. Limiting beliefs and limiting decisions run full-time. And that's how you know what they are. These are anytime you say to yourself, I can't do this, it's not meant for me, I'm not good at it, that's just not my thing, I'd never be able to do that, I couldn't get ahead, I don't have enough connections, you know, whatever it is that when you want to lean in and you start going that way, and then all of a sudden before you know it, you were leaning back going, oh no, that's not for me, you know. Those are beliefs that we have about ourselves that have been reinforced. You know, they're decisions that we've made and we've experienced them enough that they've been reinforced so much either by what we are looking for, what you plant, you reap what you sow. It's been reinforced so often that it becomes a full-blown belief and it happens in the unconscious. Like it processes in the background and we aren't even aware of it. We don't even know what's going on. But you will be now, you know, when you're wanting to lean in and you lean away for instead. Those are limiting beliefs and limiting decisions. And guess what? Those are lies. Those are lies that you tell yourself. And as long as you allow them to define you, you know, to exist, they define you. And that's, you're so much more than that. So limiting beliefs and limiting decisions. And then finally, anxiety. Anxiety is a future-based fear. It's a future-based fear. So essentially you're afraid of something that hasn't even happened yet. And we would think that we have enough on our plate that taking on something that hasn't happened yet, but you know, it does happen. So those are what you will focus on in the beginning. And this is like peeling the layers of an onion. In the beginning, you do them one at a time. As you do the work, and I do this every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. As you do these, then you can start grouping them together. But in the beginning, I urge you to do them one at a time, always starting with anger. Okay, you can do them in any other order, but anger should always be first because it can uncover other emotions. So this is how the release process is that we're going to go through. I'm going to take you through this. It's a closed eye guided meditation. Okay, so you just experience what you experience. And it is a higher self release. So this is you connecting with source. Capital S, source. So whatever the higher power is for you, it could be God, it could be the collective, the universe, the oneness, whatever it is for you, whatever that higher source is, you're inviting it to come and take away this baggage. So we're going to be talking about black bags, which are negative emotions or baggage. When you do this process, you always ask your unconscious for permission, that it's okay to release it, because the unconscious, again, is there to protect you. And some lessons aren't meant to come to the surface. Have you had something happen, and it was so traumatic that it kind of went in the background, like totally recessed. And then at an older age, maybe you had what you needed to process and understand it, and you let it go. So for me, yeah, Tammy, that was the death of my father. My father committed suicide when I was 14, and I did a lot of work around that. But it wasn't until, you know, even though I had done work on it, it took me to a certain point where I could truly process it and I could truly let go of it, because what had to come up in order for me to process wasn't anything I would have been able to handle as a little girl. I needed to be an adult. So a lot of times you ask permission. Is it okay for me to release this? You'll get a yes or a no. If you get a yes, go for it. If no, then move on to something else. And I would encourage you to do some journal work around it to really find out what might be underneath it, but do as much as you can. Ask your unconscious to preserve any learnings. A lot of times when you go through this, something will pop into your mind as you're releasing, or something will pop into your mind after you're coming out of it. Going to bed tonight, paying attention to your dreams, because your dreams have something to say to you as well. And then you also ask your unconscious for a new strategy. I'm letting this go, so bring me a new positive strategy to put in its place, is what you're asking for. And however this happens for you, it's individual for you. Some people will feel it. So as you go through the meditation, they will feel something. Other people won't feel anything. And you may have a tendency to say, well, am I doing this right? Yes, just trust the process. I mean, for me, sometimes I feel it, but sometimes I just have a knowing that, okay, I'm done and I've released it. I just kind of know. I don't necessarily feel it. So however it happens to you, just trust and experience the process. That's all. Journal your learnings or ahas. This is an unconscious process. It is not for the conscious mind. You don't have to think about what to do, okay? Your unconscious runs your body. It's got this, and all learning behavior and change is unconscious. So this is the level it needs to happen. It's very experiential in nature, and you should be in a relaxed environment, someplace quiet. So if I wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes I do this. So are you ready to go through this? And then this is how we'll kind of sign off tonight. Is everybody good? All right. So what I want you to do is get comfortable. So kind of just, sit back in your chair, get everything off your lap. Don't worry about writing anything down. Maybe just put your hands in your lap, let your shoulders sag a little bit. And I just want you to take a nice breath and let it out. Take another nice deep breath and let it out. And take another nice deep breath into your diaphragm and let it out. And as you do, just feeling yourself getting a little more relaxed. Close your eyes. Take another deep breath and let it out. And what you're going to do is that you're going to ask your unconscious mind permission to release any negative emotions that you may be experiencing consciously or unconsciously. So we're going to do whatever comes up. So ask your unconscious if it's okay to release any negative emotions that you may be experiencing, and to know how you've done so. And when you've got your yes, then I just want you to think about any anger that you may be feeling, any irritation or being ticked off or being mad that you may be feeling. Think about any sadness or melancholy, feeling blue, feeling off. Think about any fear, maybe something that you're afraid of, that you're scared of, something unknown. If there's energy like this in your body, just ask your unconscious to light up this baggage in your body. Any guilt that you may be experiencing for any reason, either because of what you have or what you get to do, or people who aren't as lucky as you are. If you're feeling any guilt, light that up. Any limiting beliefs or limiting decisions that you have about yourself, that you can or you cannot do something. If there's any negative emotions around those, any limiting beliefs or decisions that you know you have, ask your unconscious to light up that baggage. Any hurt that you've experienced as a result of what we're going through, or past situations or circumstances or people, any hurt that you're experiencing, ask your unconscious to light up that negative emotion in your body. Any self-doubt that you are experiencing or have experienced about yourself and your potential and your possibility, ask your unconscious to light that up. Any stress or anxiety, any negative emotions around stress and anxiety you may be feeling, things that are out of your control, things that you feel that you don't have influence over, ask your unconscious to light up that baggage in your body. And as this is happening, maybe you're feeling it, maybe you're feeling a tingle or a coolness or a warmth. But as you light up this baggage and know it's present, I want you to imagine your higher self, whatever form that takes for you, above your head. So it is above your head, not connected to you, but above your head. And as your negative emotions continue to be lit up in your body, you're going to invite your higher self in to your body in a moment, not yet. We're going to invite the higher self in a moment to dissolve these negative emotions and these black bags. So I want you to take one more deep breath and let it out. And now I want you to imagine your higher self above you. It is a loving, healing, golden light. And invite your higher self in to your body. And as that loving, healing, golden light pours into the top of your head, it feels warm and it feels comforting. And it starts to fill you up. So this loving, healing, warm, golden light pours into your body, filling you up, your feet to your ankles. It's filling up your calves, your thighs. And as it fills you up, it's dissolving these negative emotions. It's dissolving this baggage, and it's taking it away. This loving, healing, golden light pours into your body. It's filling up your stomach, your abdomen, filling up your chest, up to your neck. And now it slides down your arm and it fills up each one of your fingers. This loving, healing energy, this light filling up your arms to your elbow, to your shoulders. And now it is filling up your head, and it overflows out the top of your head, and it coats the entire exterior of your body. This loving, healing, golden light is sliding down, covering the outside of your body, healing you, taking away the baggage, dissolving the negative energy. And you are healed inside and out. So take a moment and feel that baggage dissolve. Feel it being taken away by that ultimate parental spirit, that who loves you more than anyone, pouring that healing golden light to make sure that you are healed inside and out. And when you feel that you are complete, go ahead and open your eyes and give me a little word or two in the chat and let me know how that was. When you're ready.
That was pretty good.
Good. Good. Good. Good. Wonderful. If anybody wants, I've got those recorded. I'll put in I've got a SoundCloud link and I can send that to you. If you want the recordings, I'm happy to share them with you. Just let me know and I'll give you the SoundCloud link. There is one other piece that I just want to touch on. Good. So just email and I'll get it to you. Forgiveness needs to be part of this process as well. In the recordings that I'm going to send you, there is a process for forgiveness. It's called Ho'oponopono. It is a Hawaiian process, and I'm a student of Huna, which is Hawaiian spiritualism. And Ho'o means to make, Pono means right, Ho'oponopono means doubly right. And not I'm more right than you, but we're both right, that we're both in a good place, because forgiveness is about you being able to move on. It's not about saying what the other person did was right.
I can't.
So
Yeah, I'm good. Are you downstairs?
So I will get you that recording as well. Any questions, anything that I can help you with? Feel free to come on the mic or to go ahead and put it in the chat. But I am happy to answer any questions. And if anybody wants to chat about something, just grab some time on my calendar, whether it's for you or teammates, whether it's personal, professional, I'm happy to do so. So I'd love to chat with you if that would make you happy. So you are more than welcome. And this has been recorded, so you'll have this as well too. So thank you, everybody.
Someone just asked if you have a morning routine.
I do have a morning routine. My morning routine starts outside every single day. And what I do is I go through this forgiveness process and I go through the negative emotion release. So that's every morning. And I also connect with the elements. So that's connecting with air, fire, water, earth, because they all bring different energy. And I'm grateful to have all of their energy each day because they each support me in a different way. So it's always alone time by myself outside. Well, it sounds like everybody's in a good space. Yay.
Yes, you left us so relaxed. We can't even think about what questions we have right now. We're gonna have to follow up with those.
Oh,
But thank you so much for joining us, Debbie. This really was amazing. And I can see right here, everyone's like, thank you so much.
you are also welcome. And I'm only an email or a phone call or a LinkedIn message away. So really, if there's any way that I can help, I am happy to. Just let me know.
Well, we appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone for joining us tonight. We're really excited to have these virtual connects during this time when we can't be together face to face. I do want to remind you that you can join WIT, the WIT network. You can either do it in Buffalo with our chapter, or you can do it around the country. There's also a virtual chapter, and they're actually doing a webinar later this month, June 26th, and that's open to everybody. And that's on presenting a virtually brilliant webinar, just like Debbie did for us today. So I'll send it out to everybody that joined us. In addition to that, our last session was on Tribute, the mentoring app. WIT bought into the Tribute mentoring app, and I think I may have mentioned it earlier. That's an opportunity for you to mentor folks and folks to mentor you, and you have access to people all over the world. So I'll send that information out as well. And then for our next event, stay tuned. We know it's a summer. We know everyone's really busy, but we're gonna send you details on what we're gonna do next, and we're hoping to do some members only events coming up soon as well. So thank you everyone for being here and sharing, and thank you, Debbie, for being here tonight.
My pleasure. Have a great evening. Give your spouse space and grace. Be good to yourself.
Thank you.